This is definitely a tricky Alteryx weekly challenge, but definitely something that I had fun with. I'm not sure that I've come up with the most optimal solution, but hey, it works, right? And that's all that matters. So we have our shapefile that we start off with, which is just basically 7 circles. So if I run that again, then you can see that we've got just basically these 7 circles that we need to turn into the phases of the moon. So I've got a select tool here because I'm just changing my data types for my X and Y to be able to cope with decimal points and negatives, just kind of increasing their memory basically, because I need that later on. But I kind of realized the first thing we know is that our full moon can stay as it is. That's already perfect. So we can filter that out, and you can see how that kind of goes to the end of the workflow where we're unioning everything together. So that's the first easy step. The next thing I realized was that if we're thinking about our third quarter and our first quarter, then that's basically just kind of cutting the circle in half. So how can we do that? So I filter out anything that contains the word quarter. And what I'm looking to do is in our data set that we get from the beginning, we basically have the middle of each of these circles. So I'm thinking that I can add on values to my y-axis, my y values. So I can add on a value and take away a value and create a line basically to bisect that circle and cut it in half and only keep the relevant half that I want. So that's basically what I'm doing up here in the third quarter. So I am filtering it so it just has these 2 quarter moons that we're looking at. I'm adding 10, I'm minusing 10, and I'm sticking those all back together, creating points out of them, using a polybuild sequence polyline to create a line. So if I show you what that's looking like at this moment in time, and then I'll just quickly do that afterwards too. So here is each of my 2 lines, and then I'm using the buffer to change that into a rather than a polyline, I want it to be a polygon so that I can actually use it on the spatial process. That's something I learned today, was that to use spatial process, they both have to be the same type of spatial object. So I join those lines back to my original data set, and I will just add in a couple more browse tools just so that you can see what that's looking like. There we go. So let's run that. So once I've joined them together, then I basically have my lines on top of my circles. I use my spatial process to basically then cut those out. So if I get rid of the line and the circle, then I just have my 2 circle halves. And I split them up using the poly split tool into regions. And then I just number those, and I know that I want to keep the first one for the first quarter and the last one for the last quarter, for the third quarter, and that gives me those 2 shapes there. And if I show you the kind of ending, then you can see where those ones go in now. So far we have our full moon and our 2 quarters. So now we need to start thinking about the crescent moon and the, I can't remember the other word for it, what's it called? The crescent moon and the gibbous. I hadn't heard the word gibbous before. So how I thought about it was the crescent moon, we can just move the center of the circle slightly to the left or the right, and then build the trade area around that and then cut that out to make the crescent shape. So that's what I was thinking initially. So in a similar way to what I did with the Ys, I thought I'll do the same sort of thing with the X's. So I'm basically saying if you're my first number, which is the waxing crescent, so basically we want the circle to move slightly to the right, then I'm going to add 1 to you. If you're the waning crescent, the last one, then I'm going to minus 1 from you. If you're the 3, which is the waxing gibbous, then I want you to look like I just basically want it to go the center of the circle now to move to the left, and otherwise I want to move to the right. It's quite hard to sort of describe what I mean, but hopefully that made sense. Then I'm creating my new centroids based on that, and I'm filtering based on whether it's a crescent or a gibbous. So for the crescent, I'm just creating another trade area circle the same size as what we had. It took a bit of trial and error to find it, but it was 100 miles. And then I'm cutting those out. So that is looking like, if I do use some browse tools there, so creating my extra trade area, I've basically got this kind of like Venn diagram shape, and then I cut them out from one another and I get my crescent moon shapes. So that's nice and simple for the crescent again. And then for the gibbous, I'm basically making my circle a little bit bigger and using an intersection object in this instance. Now, I don't know if I'm 100% happy with how these look compared to the output, but I was playing around with different sort of sizes, trying to get that line slope the right way. But I'm pretty happy with it because when you look at it all together, it looks sort of like how, it's building up. So that's how I chose to approach this challenge. So I hope that was useful. My thought process, it's a head scratcher, I would say, but it's definitely a lot of fun. So thanks for watching.